Hello everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for joining us today as part of our milesCARE and educational webinar series. I hope you're all safe at home. My name is Eric Farrell. For those of you who may not know me, I am the product specialist at Milestone for microwave digestion and clean chemistry. So today I'll be giving you guys an overview of our newest and latest rotor for our Ethos Up family, the MAXI-24 HP. So first we'll go over why it is that we developed this rotor and the needs that we saw in the markets that needed to be filled. We'll also go over the needs of high-volume cannabis labs, such as yourselves, and how this rotor fits into the current Ethos Up family. We'll also talk about the different components and how it works. I have an example industry report to show how we digested cannabis samples using the MAXI-24 HP at half a gram. Also, at the end, we're going to have a little discussion so I can let you guys know. Of course, you all have a system, an Ethos system. How would you go about adding the MAXI-24 HP to your laboratory? So I'll tell you the different scenarios and how you would go about that. Then at the end, we'll have some time for some questions and answers. So if we look at the need of high-volume cannabis labs, a lot of you are working with lots and lots of samples. Data analysis equals money. You got a lot of samples coming through. Many of you in states such as California need to digest a half a gram of not just cannabis flower, but also tinctures, salves, bombs, oils, muscle creams, isolates, distillate, etc., edibles. So the reason for that half a gram is initially made by California to make sure we get a representative sample amount. Also enable to hit detection limits for your ICP-MS. So previously, if you looked at what we had yesterday, these were our two rotors. We had our SK15 high pressure rotor on the left and our MAXI-24 high throughput rotor on the right. Over the years, Milestone has evolved our rotors to match the needs of various markets and industries. We have about 15,000 to 20,000 systems out there, and most people have decided between high pressure for more complicated samples or higher throughput for simpler samples. So now let's take a look at where we were yesterday. So if we look at the SK15, our high pressure rotor is fantastic because it's able to accommodate half a gram of all the different cannabis samples that you need to do, tincture, salves, bombs, etc. However, being a busy cannabis lab such as yourselves, 15 samples could be causing some limitations in your throughput. So you need something that's able to digest more samples in a single run. On the other hand, we have our MAXI-24, our high throughput medium pressure rotor. This is fantastic because it's able to handle those large batches of samples that you will need to do, and it's very easy to handle with simple 3-component vessel construction. However, once you start working with about half a gram of some of the more difficult cannabis samples, you may have a little bit of a challenge. And essentially where the needs of high volume labs comes in is pretty much right in the middle. So what we observed was that there was a lot of developing industries that required the capability to digest both high organic content samples, higher sample masses, and also accommodate higher throughput. We have a lot of business and a lot of instruments in contract labs in the United States, North America, and abroad, and we understand the needs of what these labs require. We saw that this type of need for higher throughput, higher masses, first starting in the USP pharma space with the introduction of USP 232, 233. And more recently, we've seen this morph and become more important for cannabis labs that are doing analytical testing for heavy metals analysis. So in the past, you may have had to use the SK15 high pressure rotor to process the half a gram of cannabis samples. Many of you may most likely chose that rotor or are using that for those reasons. However, you are limited up to 15 samples. So now with the MAXI-24 HP, you're really able to digest all of those same types of cannabis samples, half a gram that you did on the SK, on this rotor, with 9 additional positions and a simpler 3-component vessel design. Many of you who have had high pressure rotor may have needed that capability because your only option prior was the MAXI-24, and the difference between 35 bar pressure rating for a high throughput medium pressure rotor and a 100 bar rating for a high pressure rotor is quite substantial. So if you were to measure the pressure when you're digesting half a gram of various types of cannabis samples, let's go more to the medium reactive, hot, more difficult samples, maybe some of those tinctures and concentrates, you probably get around 40 to 50 bar inside the vessel. So with the advent of the MAXI-24, we're able to accommodate these samples. This rotor, similar to our MAXI-24 and our SK-15, uses the easy temp control, which is the direct contactless temperature sensing in the bottom of your microwave. And if you take a look at the rotor here, some major differences, it's a single row of 24 samples that goes along with it. I'm going to get a little bit more into some of the construction in a minute. We have a great little hands-on portion of this. So how are we able to take a MAXI design, something such as the MAXI-24, with lower temperature and pressure capability? How are we able to increase that? We were able to, by making thicker TFE and TFM vessels, covers, and caps, we have a more robust construction, which means that the vessel seals better and can handle higher pressure. The MAXI-24 HP is going to fall in right about 60 bar. Maximum operating temperature is going to be around 220, so it's higher than the MAXI-44. So now let's take a look at where we are today and where the MAXI-24 fits into the rest of the rotors in our Ethos rotor family. The MAXI-44 is going to be great for lower masses of plant material, soils, and waters. Around 1/4 gram or less is really where it's going to be ideal. When you look at the MAXI-24 HP, it's able to do not only all of those samples on the MAXI-44, but at 1/2 gram, but also plant material, soils, waters, vape cartridges, salves, edibles, and any types of cannabis samples at 1/2 gram that you would have done on the SK can now be done with this. So that essentially makes this, the MAXI-24, your primary rotor for any types of digestions that you need to do for cannabis samples. All different types at 1/2 gram. So the MAXI-24 isn't just good for only cannabis. It works great for a wide variety of applications, such as food and feed, pharmaceutical, beverages, environmental. It can be used with all types of cannabis samples at 1/2 gram. I've personally done some tests myself with the MAXI-24 rotor where I was digesting 1/2 gram of CBD oil, hemp, and I had some of my colleagues who were working with actual cannabis samples work with 1/2 gram and be able to achieve complete digestions of all of these. So again, typical working conditions around 220 C, 60 bar, going to be higher than that high throughput medium pressure rotor and more pressure to accommodate those 1/2 gram samples. And the temperature is fully controlled by easy temp. So by having these higher pressure capabilities with your rotor, this allows you to go to higher temperatures and achieve complete digestions of, say, those 1/2 gram samples that may have been a little bit more difficult previously. So with the additional pressure capabilities, we can accommodate the 1/2 gram, no problem. So let's go a little bit into more of the rotor configurations, kind of comparing them together. So the SK-15 on the right is a very good rotor because its temperature and pressure capabilities can accommodate a wide variety of samples, specifically cannabis and more of the 1/2 gram reactive samples. So in practical terms, the MAXI-24 does all the cannabis samples you would have done on the SK-15, but with 9 additional segments and easier handling. Now, if we think about this in an 8-hour day, that could make a pretty significant difference in the amount of throughput that you can work on. The MAXI-44, though, is still very good because it can handle 44 samples, but not necessarily some of those higher masses of those really difficult samples. So let's take a little look at productivity here. Now, most of you guys are mostly using ICP-MS for the most part, right? So we've worked with many, many different users in the cannabis industry and seen the type of samples that they work with. And what we've seen, everybody's working either a 1/2 gram or less, but typically not above 1/2 gram because there's really no need for it for the type of analysis that's being done. So for the type of work that you guys are doing with all the different various cannabis samples that come through your lab and across your lab bench, the 24 really becomes your go-to rotor for everything that you need to do. And of course, you can see if you look at the estimated samples in 8 hours, it's going to be higher, of course, than the SK15. So now let's do a little hands-on and look at some of these components that we have here. So first here we have our MAXI-24 rotor. For the MAXI-24, those of you who have it or may not be familiar with it, we have our vessel here, 100 ml vessel. You can place this directly on your analytical balance. You have your cap, which goes on it, and your cover. Remember, minimum acid volume for this rotor using easy temp is going to be about 5 milliliters. Then you take it, put it right into your rotor body like this. Remember that with the Maxi type rotors, we do have the peak shields already built in. Now, if we look at the MAXI-24, the components are pretty much going to be the same, right? So, except they're a bit fortified, they're a little stronger to be able to handle the higher temperatures and accommodate the higher pressures generated by half a gram of cannabis samples. Vessel is going to be about 80 milliliters. You have the cap which goes on top and your cover. You tighten it up just like that. Okay. Then I would take that and then we'll go right into an open position. Now for the SK15 or high pressure rotor, it's a bit more of a fortified construction because we're going up to 240C and 100 bar, so we need to be able to accommodate that safely and achieve complete digestions of the samples that we're using. So you have your segment, you have your peak shield. Remember, these guys are very easy to clean if you get anything on them. We have our 100 ml vessel, goes right into the peak shield. We have our cap, our spring, all goes together and slides right in. Then this will be all assembled, like so. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over to my lab. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the workflow of how you would weigh this out and how you would use it. So I'm going to go right over to here and let's see. So here's my vessel. The vessel is going to be a little bit heavier than the MAXI-24 because it's a bit more robust construction. So you can take your balance, your vessel, 80 ml vessel, place it directly onto the balance like this and tear it. Now some of you may have already attended our Advanced Cannabis webinar. So at the Advanced Cannabis webinar, we spoke about some tips for sample handling. Now, if you're working with flour, I have some, this is some hemp flour. I have this finely ground. Remember, you want to make it homogeneous, right? If you're working with tinctures, I have something such as this, where I can, if I'm able to open it and I have my dropper, I can hold the dropper directly over the vessel, kind of put it down the middle, and drop it to the bottom. That's pretty much the easiest way to get tinctures down to the bottom. Now, if you're, let's say you're working with distillate or anything that's a bit thicker, I did mention we have this tool that I've used called transfer tubes. It's basically a plunger type apparatus where you can stick this directly into a sample that's very thick and you can't pour it. Slowly draw it up, and once you draw it up, it'll be intact in here. Place it into your vessel, and then slowly drop it to the bottom. And that will help you get it to the bottom of the vessel as best as you can. Once I've added my sample, record my mass, of course, add my acids, and then capping is going to be just this similar. That cap decided to go across the room, so you would tighten it up just like this, and then place it right in. Here we back up. We are back. Now, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take my rotor. Let's say I assembled this. I'll place this directly into the microwave. So with the MAXI-24, you have a nice handle on the top that makes this pretty easy. This places right into here. And as you would with a MAXI-24, what's great is you can rotate it as I'm doing here. There's no need to take the whole rotor body in and out. You can simply work with the individual vessels as you need to. I can take this, I can roll it to the back, and now it's already there. Go ahead and close my microwave. Now I'm going to switch over to the document camera and show you some of the methods that we have already built in. Okay, fix my camera here. So if we look at our terminal, this is our terminal for the ethos up, right? So if I go into my library, go to digestion, one of the things that we've done when we came out with the MAXI-24 rotor is we released all the application notes and the methods for various different industries for which it's optimal. Of course, cannabis is right here. So we take a look and press on cannabis. We have a few different methods here: CBD oil, concentrates, edibles, plant-based products, vape cartridges. I'm going to go ahead and select cannabis concentrates. Here we have my sample mass, so up to about half a gram, 6 mils of nitric, 1 mil of peroxide, 1 mil of water. You can, depending on the type of sample, you may want to swap out the water for 1 mil of hydrochloric acid if you're analyzing for mercury, which most of you are doing at least the day before, right? So I look at my microwave method. Now what's nice about this rotor is this method and the rotor were built very well, so you can use this one microwave method for most of the types of samples that you're doing. I've, again, personally worked with different types of cannabis samples, use this method at half a gram of CBD oil or different types of higher organics, and I've been able to achieve complete digestion using this. And it's only a 35-minute program, and cooling is going to take about 20 minutes. So the entire digestion process is going to take you under an hour. Now, if I click on my rotor, for those of you who have Easy Temp technology already built into your system, if you look at the rotor, I have now, this is representing the MAXI-24 with 24 positions. During my digestion, if I have Easy Temp on my system, I can see the color, which will dictate the temperature during the process. If my sample is at the set temperature, it's going to be green. If it's red, it's most likely too hot and controlling my microwave power. If it's going to be blue, it's probably a little cool, but that's okay. Sometimes you may be working with like a blank, for example, that's not as reactive. The bottom left, remember with Easy Temp, you can click on the individual vessel which you would like to see the temperature, and you'll see it right down here in the bottom left. So now I'm going to switch back over to my presentation. Okay. So, as we've done with every type of new technology, we like to have some application reports and data to support that, yes, in fact, the system will work as we're saying, right? That's very important. You want something that's going to work for your needs. So here we have an industry report, which we developed for the MAXI-24 HP. We digested half a gram of various cannabis samples. We fortified them with a 100 microliter multi-element standard solution to watch in case we were losing any volatile elements such as mercury. Total digestion time took about less than 1 hour. That's including cooling. And we saw that we got good recoveries of all of our elements of interest. This report is actually available on Milestone Connect. Many of you are probably familiar with Milestone Connect, but if not, I'm going to go into it in just a little bit, give you a little bit of an overview, because I think it's really useful for you. I like to suggest this to everybody who I work with. So here I've already signed into the Connect. Now, if you have an Ethos up and you have it connected to a local network, you do have the ability to remotely control it, and also if your IT department allows it. Here we have various resources, our rotor guide, some information on clean chemistry tools which complement our digestion products. We have under support, you can, if you need any service or application support, you can go right into this menu here and you can click it, and by doing that, will already have all your information when you registered for this. You simply say what your problem is and the assistance we can provide you, and within a few minutes, typically about 1 minute, we'll get an email with that and we'll be able to follow up with you right away. In addition to being able to contact us by cell phone or email, whatever you need, right? So we also have all the manuals, and we have some tutorials in here. The tutorials are great for new people who may be starting. But let me show you that industry report there. So we keep all of our latest industry reports in here for you guys to access, so you can get an idea not only in the application reports, but see a bit more data behind it. So I'll go ahead and click on reports here. And here we go. I have it right on the left. So by signing into Milestone Connect, you're able to access all of these industry reports as well as a wealth of other information. Whether you have an Ethos Up or an Ethos Easy, you can, and with an Ethos Easy, you wouldn't have the Connect feature to remotely monitor it, but you still can access this resource. All you need to log in is the serial number of your instrument and your password. If you need your password reset for any reason, you can always call us. You can email us, milesCARE, and we're happy to help you. It only takes us a few minutes to reset your password. Okay. So now we're going to pop back over to the presentation here. Now, if you have an Ethos Up with a MAXI-24 or SK15, either with EasyTemp, how would you go about upgrading your system? What's needed, right? And what does it cost? So, again, this can be added to any Ethos Up or Ethos Easy with EasyTemp technology. If your system is set up to work with both the MAXI-24 and the SK15, so you have both rotors and you can interchange them, all you need to do is order the rotor, and then we get it configured for you. So you have all of the methods like I showed you in the terminal behind me. For systems, if you have the MAXI-24 or the SK15 and you have EasyTemp with the temperature monitoring in the bottom, you would get the rotor, we'd have to configure it, and then we'd have to add the appropriate sensor to accommodate the MAXI-24. If you don't know your configuration, that's totally fine. Just reach out to us. Phone, email, whatever you want to do. We can even look it up by your account name, so it's no problem. So the current pricing is for SK15 and MAXI-24 is about $13,500, and that just includes the rotor and also installation as well. So we would have to come out and we would provision the system to work for you. So we know that many of you may have bought your system not too long ago from us, and we really want to be supportive of your needs and help you get the appropriate technology in your lab so you can do your jobs better. We know it's a new investment on your side, so we want to make it easier to upgrade. So what we've done is we've offered an additional $1,000 off for all of the different packages, and this is valid for Q2 of 2020. So hopefully this makes it a little easier for you guys if you are considering this rotor for your lab. Hopefully this does help a little bit. Now, if you're a user of an SK15, it's going to be $15,500. That includes the rotor, installation, and one additional sensor. The SK15 uses a sensor in the back. We just have to install it in the other position for the MAXI-24. For current user pricing, such as yourselves, we're able to bring that down to $14,500, and this is a special that we have for Q2 of 2020. If you have a MAXI-24, it does require a little bit more work, but it's really not that hard. $17,500 for the original configuration, that's the rotor, uses 2 additional sensors, and that also includes installation of those sensors. Now, in order to bring that down to make it a bit easier to work with, we offer $16,500, which is valid for the second quarter as well. One of the things is the MAXI-24 and the MAXI-24 use some different sensors, so that's why we can't really reuse them. We wish we could. But the MAXI-24 is a more fortified design, thicker vessels. It works at higher temperatures. You're working with high organic samples that can have exothermic reactions, and we want to be able to control the digestions, get complete control over them, and safely watch for any exothermic reactions. In order for that, we needed to use a next level up sensor that's able to more accurately control the vessels. So, Before I start this, I'm going to pull up a quick polling question for you guys. I know we've covered a lot so far, but if you would like somebody such as myself or anybody on our milesCARE team to reach out to you, if you want to know more, if you want any, even just application question or support, you need some help with whatever you're doing, feel free to reach into us. So I've put up this polling question here. I'll leave this up for the remainder so you can reply as you see fit. So just to conclude here, the MAXI-24 is a great solution for cannabis labs because it can accommodate half a gram of all the types of samples that you need to do in your lab. It bridges the gap between needing to work with sample masses less than the MAXI-24, but needing higher throughput than the SK-15. It really merges right in the middle, and it's able to provide that capability to you. The sample handling with a simple 3-component design, such as this, makes it a bit easier and makes the workflow much easier. No need for the torque wrench since it's a simpler design. And again, this can be added to any Ethos Up or Ethos Easy with Easy Temp technology. So I'd like to all thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some of your questions. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Let's see, you guys asked. Okay. If I'm working with distillate, how do I go about and make it thinner so I can use it in the Maxi? That's a very good question. So many times, as you know, working with distillate can be very thick. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you take the vessel that it's contained in, say a vial or a centrifuge tube or whatever you have it in, or even a syringe. Either run it under warm water, or you can take it and put it in a hot water bath, as long as it's waterproof, to heat that up. Then once you heat that up enough, you can take something such as the transfer tube, like this guy here, and you can put that into the bottom to draw up your sample. Good question. What else do I have here? Can I run flour and distillate in the same run? That's a good question. We typically, because both flour and distillate have different reactivities, they require different temperatures to digest, and they generate different pressures. The distillates can be more reactive. What we suggest that you do is run them separately, because you can run different samples as long as they have similar reactivities. So if you have oils and tinctures, you can, a lot of those you can group together, but things like the flours, you're going to want to run separately, because you don't want to have any incomplete digestions in some positions and maybe venting in some others. Will a protocol that uses 6 or 7 mils of reagent be suitable for this rotor? Fantastic question. So yes, the standard method that I'll use for this rotor, that I suggest to people that use it and that I use personally, I'll take my half a gram, I'll weigh it out. I'll use about 5 mils of nitric acid, works pretty well. You can use 6 or 7 if you want. Then if I'm using peroxide, I'll add my peroxide, wait a little bit, then I'll add my hydrochloric acid, and then cap it. So your minimum acid volume in here is 5 milliliters. You can use anywhere between 5 and 10 milliliters, that's no problem. If you're using peroxide, peroxide is very good, because remember with rotor-based systems, what it's doing is it's converting the gas back into solution, so it lowers the pressure inside your vessel, and it gives a bit of an oxidation boost to your nitric acid to make it a bit more effective. All right, so I think that's all the questions that we have for today. I thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was informative for you. You're able to take away a better understanding of how this technology works, and maybe if you see fit, bring it into your lab. Any questions? If anybody else still wants to reach out, more than happy to. So with that, I will give you back the rest of your day. Oh, I see here. Sorry, one other question, I'll answer this. Does the plunger tool need to be ordered separately, and is it made of metal? No, you would order that separately. If you want information on that, I have your name here, I can give you information on these. So these would be ordered online, and they're strictly all plastic. So there's no metal pieces in the middle. So I'm just going to jot down the name of the lady who asked me that, and I will get you that information. Any more questions before we conclude for the day? Okay. Well, again, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe at home. And until next time, thank you.